wanted to be a boy. I was terrified of penises. I had this recurring dream when I was little that I gave birth to a baby boy, and the first thing I did was pluck off his penis. Kind of like pulling the limbs off of a Barbie doll. But I was a real tomboy, and I was great at sports, and I didn't like to wear girly clothes. And I was 12, and I started wearing oversized shirts because I had these strange things starting to pop out from my chest. So it was 1974. I was 12 years old, and I lived with my family in a kind of insulated community of lakes and log cabins in the Pine Barrens of South Jersey. And my parents were recently separated, and my mother had moved to a new apartment several towns away, which was kind of like a metropolis compared to where we had lived. And my sister and I, my little sister and I, had gone to visit her for the first time in her apartment. And there were a group of kids in the parking lot playing kickball, and they asked us if we wanted to play. And we said, sure. And one of the kids pointed to me and said, he's on our team. So naturally, when they asked me my name, I lied and said Carl. So I quickly looked over at my sister as if to say, you better go along with this or I'm going to kill you. But she's standing there kind of like dumbfounded. So we play the game, my team wins, everybody's happy, they think Carl's like the coolest kid ever. And it occurs to me, oh my God, I'm coming here every weekend for like maybe the rest of my life. So it kind of sunk in. It was a lot of fun. I'm thinking this is a great opportunity for me. I can compete with boys openly in sports. They're not going to say, no, you're a girl, you can't play. So every Friday I'd have to sneak into my brother's bedroom and steal some clothes, wrap my chest in ace bandages, and go off to my mother's for the weekend. And unfortunately, my sister was not as excited about this as I was because she was a very unwilling accomplice. However, my friends at school loved it because every Monday morning I'd come to school and they'd be like, what happened this weekend? And I would have these great stories to tell. So there was one time that a group of boys and I went to the local 7-Eleven to get Slurpees and candy bars. And on the way back, one of the boys wanted to stop at this empty wooded lot to go to the bathroom. And so we all stop on the side of the road, and then every other boy wanders off into the woods to go to the bathroom. Like, what is up with that? I felt like I was with a pack of dogs. So my face is getting really hot, and I'm like, because I'm thinking of all these terrifying penises for one thing, but then I'm also thinking, oh my God, I don't have one. They're gonna know I'm not a real boy. So they all came back out, and nobody said anything. So I was like, phew. So we finished walking back to the apartment, and I felt like, I had kind of dodged a bullet there. Then there was another time that I made the mistake of hanging upside down from the jungle gym. And one of the boys starts laughing hysterically and points at me. And he's like, oh my God, Carl, you look like you have boobs. So I dropped to the ground and called them a bunch of nasty names and went back to my mother's apartment thinking, that's it, it's over. They know. They didn't know. They still didn't know. So things started to get really complicated when the sister of one of the boy ringleaders decided she liked me. And because for a boy, I was really nice. And her brother was like one of the ringleaders, and he was like putting a lot of pressure on me. Hey, do you like my sister Kimmy? Yeah, I like Kimmy. She's nice. She's cute. And he's like, well, why don't you ask her out? Oh, well, no, she's just not my type. And he called me a pussy, and that was it. But the problem was, Kimmy was my sister's best friend. So things weren't really so fun anymore. So it was kind of time for Carl to say goodbye. So I decided one weekend to bring now remember, this is the 70s, to bring my macrame belt project with me. So I took it out in the steps and sat outside. It was mounted on a board. The board was in my lap. I was tying knots. And a couple boys from across the parking lot were looking over, like trying to figure out what I was doing. You know, was it taxidermy? Was it a circuit board? So they come over closer to get a look. And they're like really curious. And as they got really close, they're like, their faces were all twisted up. And they're like, what's that? And I, you know, like with contempt, I look at them. I said, it's a belt. It's macrame. And the one boy said, macrame? That's something a girl would do. And I stood up and picked up my belt and I said, I am a girl, and marched into my mother's apartment. Thank you.